Hi, howdy everybody, and welcome to another video brought to you by me, VintageElectronicsGeek.com. I am Jack. Today I'm just going to do a update on my Sencore FC45 frequency counter. Today I am doing this shaky cam style. Or is it lazy cam style? I don't know. Anyway, I'm also testing out one of my, well, not too recent of a purchase, but within the last 6 months or so, my Nikon S8100 point and shoot camera. Audio is being brought to you by the camera, and video is being brought to you by my digital recorder because the shutter in this thing is too noisy. Working on the display of my frequency counter, I got one display pulled out and new one put in. Well, actually, let me show you on here. I don't know why I showed you that. And as you can see, that stands out a whole bunch. The new display is extremely nice and bright, and I like that. Unfortunately, that's where we're going to have to leave it. I did breadboard the old display with a new display just to ensure I had the polarity correct on the two displays. In my previous video, I made comment in reference to where these have a positive connection, and then you drag them down to negative to make the segments illuminate. But what I forgot to mention is that you can get these displays where they have a positive or a negative contact point, and the legs being the opposite. So you just want to make sure that you get the correct one for yours. As you can clearly see, unsoldering this did not go as good as one would hoped. As you could see, my solder pads lifted up during the removal process, and you could see little pins here that I had to solder back in place to get this to work properly. So unfortunately, removing the rest of these digits is not going to happen. I was not very successful removing that one properly. Had my solder iron set to its lowest setting, that would, or I should say my desoldering gun, I had that set to 375, the lowest setting. Once one of the pads removed, I stopped that immediately and went straight to the iron and lowered that as far as it would go. Well, not as far as it would go, but as far as I can get the solder to melt. And I think I was around 300 degrees or thereabout to unsolder. It did not work out very well for me. So instead of goofing this thing up entirely, I have just decided to leave it as is, one bright display, and live with it until I can come up with a surefire way to remove the rest of them without completely and utterly turning this into a pile of something. I'll leave it be. If you've got any ideas or suggestions at how I could successfully remove the rest of the displays without doing that, I would appreciate it. Well, I think this little camera does pretty good. Just got to get my lighting proper and get a really good macro on it. On the frequency counter, I still need to put in the new capacitor filter cap. Put this all together and see what it looks like. After a good 15 minutes of fighting with this thing with a little bit of alcohol, some heat, and pry tools, I was able to finally get that capacitor out of its holder without doing no damage to the holder. Haven't pulled the new capacitor out to see if it'll actually fit in the holder. So that might have just been a moot point. But I think if the new capacitor will fit into the holder, I think what I'll do to make the job really easy for the next technician, and hopefully that's not me, I'll take some JB weld to that thing and get it in there really, really good. Figure, hey, all this work should be good for what? Another 40 years. So who cares? Alright, let's see what kind of damage I could do. I have the capacitor installed now. We're going to fire this up and see if this thing explodes, see if I got it installed correctly. If not, I'm sure it will be a really, really big explosion. 50 volts, 10,000 ohms. Or 10,000 microfarads. I don't know why I keep saying ohms. For safety reasons, I put myself behind a plastic lid. I have had capacitors explode on me before, and that's not fun. And with this being such a big capacitor, I want to be out of the line of fire. In fact, you can see the plastic lid right here in front of me and the capacitor. Have the camera overhead looking down on it. So if it does explode, you'll get to see a really cool show. So I just ensured that the switch is turned off on the camera. Have this plugged into my isolation transformer, and I'm not even going to crank it up. I'm just going to leave it at 120 volts and wish it good luck. So I'm going to throw the big red switch on the transformer now. And making sure I'm in frame in the camera. Throwing the switch now. I do have display on the frequency counter. And at this point I have no explosion, so that's fantastic. I apparently have it hooked up correctly. I have it put all back together. Got it plugged into an outlet and into the signal generator. We're going to turn it on, and you're going to obviously see the display. If you can't already see the display, it's going to become quite obvious here in just a moment. So, switch is off. Going to hit the other switch up on the wall. Can't think of what it's called. The Variac. There we go. Isolation transformer. Brain went dead. So here we go. Stand by. Put your glasses on. Here we go. Ain't that exciting? Very, very bright. But at least the display illuminates now on all segments. So as you can see, it all illuminates now. Need to figure out how to replace all the digits in person. That is extremely nice and bright. In this little cheesy camera, I know that that's being blown out. It's it's really awesome. That's all I could say. So I had to figure out the proper way of swapping them out, or find a technician who is a lot better at it than I, and send it to them and let them do it for me. I don't know. Not going to stress out about it too much. I'll worry about that another day. Right now it allows me to use the frequency counter, and I will just live with it. Okay, well, this will conclude this video, and we'll probably conclude this project for a while. I need to move on to other projects, and I may not return to this one for quite some time if I do. So we'll just leave this project open-ended. With that, thank you very much for watching. Hope my lazy cam wasn't too terrible for you. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. See ya.